But let's also talk about some hard news in the entertainment world.
Exactly.
Take this one, because as I was on the show, we didn't get to it in our show. I'm not quite sure what the update is.
Okay, so we have James Franco.
Right, actor James Franco.
Him. He's an actor, he's an author, he's a director, and he even has his own acting classes. Well, some of the students from those classes and people that he's worked with over the years, 5 of them, in fact, have come forward saying that he has been sexually inappropriate with them. 5 different counts.
This has been circulating at the the Golden Globes, which happened on Sunday. People thought it was strange that he was walking the red carpet with the lapel pin that said "Time's Up," part of the Me Too Time's Up movement. And go ahead. So now, what is he saying?
Well, it was from that moment that some of his accusers stepped forward on Twitter saying, "Time's up, James Franco. You can't wear this pin and not acknowledge what you've done." So he was on Stephen Colbert the other night addressing some of the accusations, and watching it before I saw some of the articles that came out today, I felt like I believed him, and I didn't think maybe some of these accusations were incorrect. He was saying that he did. Oh, we have a video. So we're going to play the video to see what he said.
Before we do, I do want to ask you something, and I know I mentioned backstage that I wanted to talk to you about this, and if you're okay talking about it, I wanted to ask you about some criticism that you got on Golden Globes night, because you were wearing a Time's Up pin in support of the Time's Up movement, which has been created by many powerful women in Hollywood to say the time is up for the abuse, misuse of women, both sexually and otherwise, not only in Hollywood, but around the country. They've established a fund, a legal defense fund for women and men who are being abused in this way. You got criticized for wearing that. Do you know why? And what do you have a response? Do you have anything you want to say about that criticism?
Well, first I want to say I wore it because I do support it. I was, look, I was so excited to win, but being in that room that night was incredible. I mean, it was powerful, and there were incredible voices, and I support it. I support change. I support 50-50 in 2020, which just means, people that are underrepresented, women and people of color, people in the LGBT community get, positions, leadership positions that they fill all positions that they've been deprived of. I completely believe in that. That's why I wore
it. I don't believe him yet. I don't know. I mean, not that I don't believe him or don't not believe him. I just haven't come to a conclusion yet, because he didn't address the fact, how about the 5 people? This isn't one person. Right. This isn't 2, 3, 4, 5.
So the first account was in 2014, and it happened on Instagram. He met a girl outside of a theater in New York.
That's believable to me.
I remember this being reported at the time.
Right? So he goes onto Instagram, talks to her, asks her, number 1, if she has a boyfriend, number 2, if she's 18 yet. Okay. She tells him that she's 17, and yet he still asks her which hotel she's staying at and if he should rent a room there. So that was strike 1.
So he asked these questions, and did she answer yes? Because if she answered
yes,
yes,
that she was 17.
She's 17.
But then
we
he
should
continued
know,
the questioning, even though he shouldn't have.
Right.
So that was just one count. But now he has students that are coming out saying, in the acting classes, he has a sex master's class or sex scenes master's class where he teaches people how to act appropriately in a sex scene on a movie or on a TV set.
Interesting.
And some of his students said that during those practice scenes, he would remove the protective barrier that women use instead of underwear that they're wearing when he was showing how to perform oral sex. And then there's that barrier that you hope that is there, and he removed it, and they couldn't say anything in the moment because they felt there was this power imbalance.
Right.
And that's what all of this is about. So that moments in the future like this won't happen, and that women feel in those moments, if these allegations are said to be true, that they would be able to come forward and not fear for their job. And so that's all part of the fun.
He would have women sign up for these classes with the thought that they would be promised a place in one of the videos that he was producing or directing.
Right.
And that was what's different between his acting classes and some of the others.
Yeah, not okay.
That you don't have a director that's also producing this class.
Right.
So then you have another situation. One of the third accusers said they were filming a show or a movie or a documentary series, and James Franco asked them to participate in an orgy scene. And he didn't just ask anyone, he asked his students. And so the students started to feel like any opportunity that they would get in one of his pieces
just me creeping. I don't see your microphone. Not to cut you off, but they keep saying Isn't it?
Oh, it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Okay, here. There you go. There you go.
You know what?
There it is.
Yeah, she's fishing that out. I believe with the video, we almost got to the point where he was going to address it
Yeah, is there
specifically.
more?
I don't know if we can go further with that because he's, you know, sometimes in a tense moment, you sort of go for like the easy one first. I'm for freedom, or I'm for
He included
puppies, or I'm for
LGBT.
all these
Right,
things. So
right.
everyone,
Included it
so they
all.
kind of gets the audience behind him. And this was before he actually got to specifically addressing which was the latest accusation.
Yeah, Chrissy, producer Chrissy, can we get that video back up and longer? Let's see what he says next. I need more.
Do you know why? And what do you have a response? Do you have anything you want to say about that criticism?
Well, first I want to say I work because I do support it. I was, you know, look, I was so excited to win, but being in that room that night was
And I don't want to
incredible.
talk
I mean,
over
it was
him, but we
it was
had
powerful,
heard this
and
before.
there
Just
were
a few
This is the part we
seconds.
just
So,
heard,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
So
Okay, well, let him get through
I
this.
support change. I support
I support change, LGBTQ.
50-50 in 2020, which just means, you know, people that are underrepresented, women and people of color, people in the LGBT community get, you know, positions, leadership positions that they fill all positions that they've been deprived of. I completely believe in that.
Okay, so here's the applause. Now we want to hear some more.
That's why I wore it. There were some things on Twitter.
Today.
Yeah, I haven't read them. I've heard about them. Okay, first of all, I have no idea what I did to Ali Sheedy. I directed her in a play off Broadway. I had nothing but a great time with her. Total respect for her. I have no idea why she was upset. She took the tweet down. I don't know. I can't speak for her. I don't know. The others, look. In my life, I pride myself on taking responsibility for things that I've done. I have to do that to maintain my well-being. I do it whenever I know that there's something wrong or needs to be changed. I make it a point to do it. The things that I heard that were on Twitter are not accurate, but I completely support people coming out and being able to have a voice because I didn't have a voice for so long. So I don't want to, you know, shut them down in any way. It's I think a good thing, and I support it.
So his word against
well,
their word,
right.
which
Is
is
there
oftentimes
something
the
else
issue in these
that you
cases,
think-
and why those who fall victim to what they feel has been sexual misconduct or harassment or rape or whatever culture they have been, you know, been a part of. That's the problem, is that it becomes his word against their word, his or her word against his or her word, and so it's finding that proof, right? And he's saying what was said on Twitter is inaccurate, but he doesn't want to shut them down and call them liars because he understands it's part of the movement and he supports the movement.
What's interesting is that in an LATimes article that I read, it references an interview with James Franco and Out Magazine where he admits to, yes, having a past history with substance abuse, but then also having this other sort of interesting past that he addresses being over and how he is a new man now. And so that makes me think, James Franco, what is this mystery past
And if
that
you
you've
turn
now
a new
overcome?
leaf,
Right.
you have to still suffer the consequences.
Exactly.
Should these allegations be true? This is a tough one, and I just heard from Marcus Allen, who says, because tonight he's down in Los Angeles because tonight is the Critics' Choice Awards.
Right.
It's we know it's a precursor to what's going to go down at the Oscars. Anyways, it's another award show, and all these celebs who are nominated and who are part of these films and TV shows are asked to come, and they sit at tables. It's like a mini Oscars. His publicist has not confirmed whether or not Franco's going to be there. He does have a spot at one of the tables, so.
Ooh, that's interesting.
That's an
yeah,
interesting
he may
one, 'cause
sit
he
this
knows
one
that
out,
there's a
knowing
red
that
carpet and there's going to be media.
Exactly. So whether maybe he's clearly sincere in his beliefs and doesn't want to draw attention from the other people there. That's one way that they could address this. But you could see him walking that tightrope, because what he's essentially saying is, I'm for all of these things, and these women need to be heard, and there's a lot to this, and we all need to be better, and I'm all for that. But what was said about me in this case is not true.
Right.
So how do you do that? How do you be behind a movement, but when it comes down to you in the same scenario that's played out so many times, which is somebody is out there, and then they say things, but they are using their real names, etc.
Right.
And then in this case, this was after what he addressed, so this is a different day, and there's new information, so that would all be addressed. How do you acknowledge and respect something that you are actually part of, but you're trying to allude to that this is all correct, or this is all happening, but in my case, it isn't.
That's very difficult. Whether it happened or did not happen, I imagine that his publicists, his people say, no matter what, you were behind this. Because if you aren't behind this, you look terrible. But like going all out and being a part of it, even if he as a normal person would have just kind of like stayed low key, and maybe he's overcompensating.
Right.
It's part of a bluff. I don't know.
This is part of where you think back to how women in France started the anti-Me Too movement.
Right.
In cases where, and we don't know if James acted inappropriately, but if he did, and if he's being hung out to dry, then you wonder, gosh, what is this doing to somebody's reputation who might not deserve that sort of treatment?
Right. Yeah, there is a counter movement. There's a counter viewpoint. Absolutely. And it's not just that one woman. She claims to represent a whole bunch of other people that feel the same way, that this is, that the punishment does not fit the crime, essentially. And that what was happening was something that's happened forever, innocent, maybe overplaying what you think is the situation is, but not going so far as to have all of these other things happen to you, because you clearly, there is a difference between a pat on the leg versus whatever, is what she was trying to say. But in all of this, we're all trying to figure out, because for every individual, they have their own line. For some people, pat on the leg. I mean, imagine if you were a staunch conservative, very religious, a pat on the leg, maybe in your world and all of that is way over the line, and you will have the same reaction and impact on your life, because that's your frame of reference, as where other people are touchy-feely and everything, it doesn't really matter to them because that's been their world forever. It's difficult because it's different for every person, so you can't have one set of rules that applies to everyone, because everyone's reaction and how they take it, that's really what matters. You have to figure out who that person is and understand their line, what's acceptable to them.
And part of the movement, it does say, like, for women and for men who are going through this, right, and finally coming forward, should these allegations be true, that takes a lot. Their body, their rules, and that takes a lot for them. Just flipping it back to, how about if all of these allegations are true, right? And these women are now being called, essentially what we're saying is we don't yet believe them, right? Until we see the proof, sort of thing. And so how about if it is true? And these women have now outed themselves. It's an out. They have outed themselves. But no one wants to be known for this unless there's money involved in some cases, which a lot of these, it isn't necessarily about that. It's just cleaning your soul, cleansing your soul, saying this happened to me. He needs to be held accountable.
Correct. Right. With the Taylor Swift judgment, she just wanted an apology and acknowledgement. That was it. It was never about money.
David Wong wants the same thing. He says, I doubt his sincerity. If he wanted to apologize, he should have just done it without trying to involve any other issue. Seems a bit like how Kevin Spacey mishandled things.
How Kevin Spacey came in and said, I'm gay.
Exactly.
Oh.
He tried to smoke and mirrors.
It's like, well, don't even put those two topics together. They, have nothing to do with each other. And then you try to make us love you because you've outed yourself as a gay man. But then, wait, the real story, the headlines, though, we're reading, Kevin Spacey outs as a gay man, outs himself. It's like, no. There were all these allegations against him for sexual misconduct.
So I would say a textbook apology and acknowledgement that sort of addresses all of these things in a very respectful way and a very, looking inward way was Louis C.K.'s apology, because he started straight up, look, a lot of what it was said is true. So he wasn't trying to bring up he wasn't trying to say some of this is inaccurate. He owned up to the true parts first. And then he, went on and said that some of the things that happened wasn't the way that I remembered it, but we have to understand that it's not the way that I remember it, it's the way that it's impacted. So he definitely, in doing that, didn't make it go away, but he put the people that were affected first and foremost, and gave respect and basically backed up some of their claims in the beginning. Instead of approaching a situation like this with, let's say, a politician has some controversial thing and they get up in the podium and they ask them about that, and then they say, well, first of all, let me just say that I love America. You try and go with these things. Okay, that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about this. So you have to, the smoke and mirrors, you're trying to sort of muddy up the waters where in the entirety of the statement there are some things that they're saying that everyone agrees with, and then you turn around to then maybe address but not specifics, and then it just muddies up the whole thing. So it's not actually an apology or acknowledgement. It's just
a way out.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes sense.
And another thing too that people are keenly aware of is there's a certain time period, especially in TV, that you have to address these things.
Oh, yes.
There's a technique called running out the clock. Basically, you can talk about all of these other things, take a whole lot of time, and then basically there's no time to actually get into the specifics, which is really what everyone wants to talk about, or at least be acknowledged or disputed.
So Kimberly Morgan says that she thinks it was a scripted apology. And those are the most insincere forms of apology. And to me, Louis C.K. seemed very off the cuff, very sincere. But I
don't know if this was scripted. He didn't say
didn't seem
that was
scripted at all.
He didn't study his scripts. He's an actor. He knows how to memorize his words.
Well,
for a living.
this is true. I think, but maybe he had a rough structure in how he wanted to talk about it.
You know what? I don't want this to be scripted. Oftentimes, in interviewing a ton of celebrities, getting them off of a script, they're awkward human beings because they do this for a living. So, anywho, we'll continue to follow this story. A lot more coming up at 9 again. What's going down with the mudslides in Montecito, and we'll see if those numbers have fluctuated at this point. But 17 people dead. Keep it locked. 9 o'clock, ABC 10 on your TV screen, and then tomorrow's Friday. Thank goodness. Tomorrow's Friday.
you said.
Friday?
I'm here for it.
Have a good one, guys.